Chapter 4 The Name of Christ. The name of Christ had been heard in Britain during the period of Roman rule, but we do not know who first sounded it. There are many beautiful legends. The great apostle of the Gentiles himself came to Britain. That Joseph of Arimathea, having been placed by the Jews in an open boat at the mercy of wind and wave, landed in Britain. That some of the captives taken to Rome with Aristarchus brought back the tidings of great joy. We know of the name of Christ between 200 and 300 years after his death was well known in Britain, and that churches have been built for his worship. Between 300 and 400 we have an organized church and a settled priest. Between 400 and 500 there was searching of heart and creed and heresies, a sure sign that the people were alive to religion. Between 500 and 600 there was a translation of the Bible from Hebrew and Greek into the better known Latin. The whole of Wales becomes Christian, and probably St. David converted the last pagan and built his church among them. Between 400 and 500, a stream of pagan tunings flowed over the east of Britain, and the British church was separated from the Roman church. By 664, British and Roman missionaries had converted the English, and the two churches of Rome and Britain, once united, were face to face again. But they had grown in different ways and refused to know each other. Their Easter came on different days. They did not baptize in the same way. The contour was different, a crescent on the forehead of a British monk and a crown on the pail of a Roman monk. In the Roman church, there was rigid unity in system. In the British church, there was much room for self-government. The newly converted English chose the Roman way because they were told that St. Peter, whose see Rome was, held the keys of heaven. Between 700 and 800, the Welsh gradually gave up their religious independence and joined the Roman Church. But there was another dispute, where the four old Welsh bishoprics, Bangor, St. Asaph, St. David's, Llandaff, to be subject to the English Archbishop of Canterbury, or to have an archbishop for it of their own at St. David's. By 1200, the Welsh bishoprics were subject to the English archbishop, and Giraldus Cambrensis came too late to save them. But through all these disputes, the church was gaining strength. Churches were being built everywhere. Up to 700, they were called after the name of their founder. Between 700 and 1000, they were generally dedicated to the Archangel Michael. There were several seven angels in Wales. After 1,000 new churches were dedicated to Mary, the Mother of Christ, we have many Chanbears. Times of civil strife or of popular indifference came over and over again, and the old paganism tried to reassert itself. And time after time, the name of Christ was sounded again by men who thought they had seen him. In the 12th century, the sixth monk came to say the world was bad, that prayer saved the soul and that labor was noble. He was followed by the Franciscan friar, who said that the deeds of mercy and love should be added to prayer, that Christ had been a poor man, and that men should help each other, not only in saving souls, but in healing sickness and relieving pain. In the 15th century, the Lower came to say that the church was too rich, and that it had become blind to the truth. And Walter Root said that men were to be justified by faith in Christ, not by the worship of images or by the merit of saints. In the 16th century came the Protestant, and the sway of rule over Wales came to an end. Bishop Morgan translated the Bible into Welsh, and John Henry urged for the preaching of the gospel in Wales. The Jesuit followed, calling himself by the name of Jesus, trying to win the country back again to Rome. Robert Jones toiled and schemed, and some laid down their lives. The Puritans came in the 17th century to demand simple worship, and Morgan Lloyd thought that the second advent of Christ was at hand. The revivalists came in the 18th century, and, in the name of Christ, aroused the people of Wales to a new life of thought. After all this, you will be surprised to learn that many of the old gods still remain in Wales, and much of the old pagan worship. Who drops a pin into a sacred well, or leaves a tiny rag on a bush close by, and then wishes for something? A young maiden in the 20th century who sacrifices to a well-heathen god. Until quite recently, men thought that Fifnon Digby and Fifnon Elon and Fifnon Diwenwen had in them a power which could curse and bless, ruin and save. Blood of Silver Hand was the god of flocks and sheep. His caves are in Dyfed still, and his was the temple on Ludgate Hill in London. Merlin was a god of knowledge. he could foretell events. Ceridwen was the goddess of wisdom. She distilled wisdom-giving drops in a cauldron. Gwydion created a beautiful girl from flowers, from red rose and yellow ruby and white anemone. I am not quite sure what Coil did, but I have heard children singing the history of Old King Cole. Olwen also walked through Wales in heathen times, and it is said that 3 white flowers rose behind her wherever she had put her foot.